I don't know who else is going to join us. Doesn't matter. This one might be a little quicker for us too. And I mean, it's already saying that we're live on YouTube, so I'm muttering in the background, and everybody else is doing their thing. Mitch Camage, the Savage in Business. This is Mitch Camage coaching, of course. I got Paul, I got Matt on my screen. They're there. I don't know what you're seeing on your screen or what they see on theirs, but on mine, I got Paul there. I got Matt there. We got Yulia popping in. Good to see you as well. And we're going to get started here right away. We're going to take the next 30, 45, 60 minutes just to talk about the week that was in business. And so I'm going to offer 2 layups to start with. I always come in with a theme. I want to get everybody else involved. Last week, I saw some great conversation coming towards the end of it, which is what we want. So think of this as a business talk show, or how you and your buddies, your friends are going to bullshit over a pint. But instead of talking about sports or anything else, we're going to talk about business, of course. So with that, layup number 1, where we are in our marketplace and a lot of different places in the world, we just came out of lockdown. Really? We did? Okay. How long? For what amount? What happens next? Mitch, that ain't a layup. No, it's not. So we're coming out of lockdown right now. We see people flooding out to restaurants, going to retail places and stuff like that. We're also seeing a bunch of places that have stayed shuttered. So what do we got? What are we really looking at here? Are they going to let us just roam the countryside willy-nilly? Is the vaccine program getting there? Again, not a political or a medical diatribe, but all these things have conditions and impact on business. So they're letting us out in the countryside right now. Is that it? Are we done? We're over with. It's time to maximize and pedal to the floor, or do we still have to be cautious and conscientious about what's going on? Paul, Matt, let's get some input.
Cautious. This is going to be a 90-day run, a little over 90 days. So you're going to go through June, you're going to go through July, you're going to go through August, you're going to go through September, and then they're going to shut the shit down in October. So we've already been talking about another different strain. So, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I can see it's going to happen again. So I would be optimistically cautious and, planning going forward that, we're going to have rolling times of it like this, where we're open and then shut. So, we've been through it a few times. We should definitely know what to expect now. And I think you just prepare for it. I think it should be a part of your longer term strategy and going, what's working and what's not working. And let's adjust for it.
No, agreed. And, we just finished chatting prior to going live that I was out and about yesterday and I took the kids, and it was interesting that, our new normal is to be homebodies, and going out is now again one of those awkward situations, and nothing's changed really over 16 months. Places that are retail, places that are food and beverage based, yes, have been shuttered at any point in time, but they've still been doing business in their own way. But again, there was definitely some ring rust out there yesterday, and people are just trying to figure out what the landscape looks like now. And I do agree with Paul that we should be cautious. I think that the masses, the food and beverage here locally, they're going to be probably busier now than they've truly ever been, right? Because people are just cabin fever, they need to get out. But then there are others, like some of my family members and others within my circle, that they're like, well, you know what? I've created a habit of, I still go out for dinner, but I just order in, right? So, we don't know. And, even for myself, I was in one of the larger retail malls in the world, certainly in North America yesterday, and some of the food and beverage outlets chose not to open on the day. They were delayed to say, okay, we're going to launch correctly, because they have a strategy. It's not just about, we need to make sales, right? So some like them, like the multinationals, they can weather the storm and not have to worry about that 6 to 12 grand per day or whatever it may be. But the small independents, they just need to be open, right? So I'm curious to see, but yes, I'm cautious. Others should be as well. And do we want to get back into lockdown? No, especially around that September, October, because that's school. That's another school year, right? So for me, I look to my kids and the family unit, and our hope is that it looks, whatever the new normal is, it just looks the way that it should.
Lorette in the audience. Good to see you.
Hey guys.
Good to see you. All right. We're just getting some stuff handled. I'm getting some shares on here as well. So for our live audience that may be with us right now, and of course, studio audience is here. We got 5 of us on. come and check us out on YouTube. You can go to Mitch Camage Coaching on YouTube itself. You can find us on Facebook, Mitch Camage Official. We're live. You can tune in and you can comment through YouTube. Or still, you can go find us on Eventbrite, click on that link, and literally come and join the studio audience. That is open for everybody as well as to comment. So we just commented about the fact that we're coming into the removal of the lockout and whether we need to stay cautiously optimistic, whether it's just all doors are open, etc., and what we have to do instead. I finished a conversation with a good friend of mine here not that long ago, Corey Poirier, the noted TEDx coach and international speaker. And when we had this conversation, and it was actually just earlier today as well, he was asking about this, and he's like, well, Mitch, what do we got to do? Well, what we've seen for the last little while, and again, panel intake on this in a moment, a lot of businesses weren't really structured that well to start with. You know, there's high failure. You know, food and beverage certainly got it, but lots of other companies did too, right? We can say that construction did okay, but have you ever tried to buy lumber in the last little while? Have you tried to buy structural steel, right? Are you pouring concrete anywhere? All of this stuff went up. You know, gas went up, lumber went up, all these different things went up. Price of a gallon of milk went up as well, you know, or 4-liter of milk because we're in Canada, of course. So all these different things happen, but it talks about structure and time and the ability to be able to not only handle this pressure, but be prepared for what's coming next. And so if we're opening up right now, Matt brings up a good point, and I want to talk about preparedness. Get prepared for what's coming next. Paul opened up by his opening barrage, said that about, you know, watch, because the fall, they're going to let us off the leash. And chances are come fall, guess what's going to happen? School's going to start, and they're going to lock us straight back inside and have us shipping our kids on buses to school, staying in cohorts and individual classrooms, stuff like that. We all hope it's not the case, but you know what? Track record says otherwise. But that also speaks to preparedness. So if we've got businesses right now, to Matt's comment, we're talking about preparedness, and talking to Corey earlier today was about preparedness. So what does it take for businesses to survive, thrive, and grow? I'm like, you have to be able to push to grow, you have to be able to sell, and you have to be able to innovate. Those are the three big things. To find clients, take care of clients, get paid by clients. So it's wonderful that they've allowed us to reopen, and we're all going willy-nilly off into the countryside. But what does that say about the businesses that waited? Are they being smarter? Or are they missing the boat? Because we all know that when you get in at the front end, more's made of it than where. So with that in mind, is preparedness an issue? Has it been for the last 12 to 15 months? Is preparedness an ongoing issue for businesses? Or is once more, they're just going to let us go into the countryside? We're like, it's never going to change and perfect's going to continue to happen. And then we're going to get punched in the guts again. Are we being prepared this time? Have we had 12 months worth of good life lessons and business lessons? Or are we going to hurt ourselves again? Thoughts? Ashley, good to see you.
Well, I'll chime in on that, because for me, it's having the knowledge and being prepared are two separate activities, right? So again, we now have history, or we have some sort of database that we can now rely on, saying, okay, here's the modeling, here are the numbers, this is COVID, is what it is. But if you haven't taken that and been like industry or business specific, then it's of no use to you, right? And so, you know, we've talked in the past about, you know, knowledge is fantastic, but without influence or be able to share and people to listen, it's almost useless, right? So for me now, do I think that they're missing the boat? Possibly. And again, there's only so many people in our local areas. Now, wherever you are, again, Edmonton, Alberta, you know, we've discussed in the past with my food and beverage clients, before it was 5 business lunches a week, and then we'd go out a couple times for happy hour, and you probably were in different restaurants 10 to 12 times a week. Well, now you're going to pick and choose, because it may only be 3 or 4 times. So now that restaurant needs to be top of mind. It needs to be top 3. If not, you're not going to hear or see that person, right? Or those individuals. So it truly will be about, you need to capture that top of mind business sense. And then from there, work on the frequency of those clients as well.
Okay. Thoughts from the rest of the peeps? Preparedness. We're going to hurt ourselves again? Don't shake your head. You joined the live studio audience.
I just like, of course, you know what I mean? Like A plus B equals C. So like preparedness. Yes, I'm in full agreement with you. But like I would throw in some creative imagination. You know what I mean? So like, what does that mean to be prepared? But like, choose your own adventure. Like career development is choosing your own adventure. Like you can create anything that you want from how you interpret the world, right? So this is also like preparedness is how do you interpret the world? What do you need? What do you want?
And I think to build on that, it's all about what lens are you looking at your business with, or whatever, organization you're running, and how adaptable are you to pivoting, and how open are you to pivoting, right? Because the last year has been a masterclass in businesses that pivoted are now, reaping the benefits of that. But I think at the end of the day, it's given us all a little bit of juice. Even if we weren't comfortable pivoting before, we now have to pivot if we want to stay in business and grow and thrive, right? So I think to your point, preparedness is one thing, but adaptability and openness to pivot. And how do you do that? Do you have the structure in place? Do you have the initiatives in place? Are you adaptable to new changing technologies? All of these things, I think, need to be at the forefront of a strategic planning session.
Come on. Yulia, you're not even on camera yet. Paul, what you got for me? Bring this in, and then I'm gonna nudge for the next part.
I don't think there's much really to add other than, outlook. Do you have a negative outlook? Do you have a positive outlook? Are you coming at it with a, how can I make this happen? How can I make this work? Or, what am I missing? Technology has been huge through this. So have I adapted to the technology, or are there still gaps on that side of it? And then, looking ahead, are we going to continue to see higher inflation? Oil's just over $70. So how does that play in everything? With prices already being higher, are they going to continue to go higher for a little bit and then come back down on that side? So, that's going to be an impact as well for all of their supplies. And there's so many other industries that are being, bottlenecked with being able to get supplies. And how does that play out for your industry? So, there's a lot of things, definitely a lot of things to look at. But I think, by now, you should have a readjusted game plan for sure.
Okay, that goes to my next one. We come in with a theory. We come in with a goal. And we know that being the master manipulator I am, that I think about where I want to nudge, bully, or steer this conversation to. Now that we're at, and the pretty words have shown up. Pivot, right? So pivot and adaptation. All of these people out here, you, in the last year, what was one of your major takeaways, pivots, or adaptations that you made? Because business is just business. Find clients, take care of clients, get paid by clients. Drive, sell, innovate. Those are your three big. So many people go, I got to worry about this, and I got to worry about that, and I got to get this in place, I got to get that place. Crap, it's bullshit. Push, sell, innovate. Do something better tomorrow that you did today. Do something better today than you did yesterday. So what changed in the last 12 months? And Lorette, if you start with the go on a mystical journey thing, I'm going to turn your camera off and boot you out of the room. I want to hear a real answer.
I already wrote my answer.
Not the
I already
fluff.
wrote my answer, and it's not
No,
a
I'm
mythical
calling you
journey.
out. I don't want to hear Lorette's career development pitch. I want to hear what she did over the past year,
Yeah,
and
then
everybody
Lorette's
else
gonna
on
go
here as
first,
well.
'cause she
I'm
has to.
deliberately calling her out on that one, and I'm pointing where she is on my screen.
I'm here.
Go on an epic journey. Crap, it's bullshit. I did this. Love it. So,
Okay,
with
this
that in
is awesome.
mind, and me calling out Lorette,
You called me out. I'm gonna answer first.
That's go for it.
No, we're gonna play this game. You know what I mean. So okay, pivot or adaptation. That was, you're asking pivot or adaptation. I say get clear. Okay, your why. 7 streams of income, 7 streams of spiritual growth. That's what I'm going for. So I'm creating income in 7 different ways, right? So what does that look like? A book, the theory of career development, the practice of career development, choose your own adventure classes, and the legendary journey, because that's what it's called for my programming. So sorry, not sorry. But I believe in creative imagination. The pivot is real, but it's the pivot within self. So what is 7 streams of income for you, right? Don't just stick to one job. JOBs don't work. It's the task that you get paid for, right? But 7 streams of income is 7 streams of different financial stability within yourself, right? But I also believe in whole body healing. So 7 streams of spiritual growth. Read, hang out with people, learn something new. Like I learned how to play the violin, blah, 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 blah. 7 streams of income, 7 streams of spiritual growth. That is my actual answer, Mitch, Does that suffice your?
Diversification and start with yourself. Ashley, you're up.
Yes.
You even put your hand up on the call. I love it, right?
So I think, I think when we all go into we'll call the last 18 months maybe a crisis mode for a lot of businesses, right? It's hold on to your shorts. How can I stay alive? How can I stay breathing above water? And I think the first instinctual thing to do is, well, I'll lower my prices because then people will flock to me. But I think the minute that we do that, you run the risk of devaluing your services, and or how do you then raise your prices afterwards without a really good strategy and transparency? And so I think what we did was we basically said, look, we are going to customize all of our pricing to the client's actual needs, the scope that they need involvement with, and the term that they need help for. And so it's not, let's lock you in for a year or two of services, but it's, look, how can we add value? How can we help you in the immediate so that you can jump over your next hurdle as a business leader? And I think that approach allowed us to build great, authentic relationships. It allowed that trust to be formed, and it provided us the ability to be that trusted subject matter expert, so that we can actually add value and help rather than just be an invoice that comes every single month. Because I think return on investment and seeing the value add for the money that's being spent is going to be very key over the last 18 months and for the upcoming 18 months. So that's what we did.
Perfectly said, Ash. Thank you very much. Now we're sitting here right now, and when I set this up every week and we go live on YouTube, and we got a couple people watching right now, we got our boy Ali, my partner in syndicate, just cropped up and said, afternoon guys. Yulia also popped in real quick. She said she's in listening mode right now. She got something obviously going on, but she wants to definitely participate. So when it comes to planning, make sure you're doing it quarterly. In other words, speed up the cycle of when you're looking at. Most people do think of it as one and done, right? So when I put this together, and I always put the notes in when it goes to the live stream as it's coming on YouTube every week, and then I share this a couple different places so people can come and join us. I also say this is from business owners just like you. We got Ashley over here is running a boutique HR firm. We got Lorette, which helps with career management and career development. She's an absolute genius. We got Paul, who's one of the best real estate people I've ever met. He now works in businesses. Matt works in about 4 or 5 different businesses. He's one of my coaches along with Paul. We got Yulia, that's in experiences, epic experiences. In fact, you can see it right there on the screen if you can see her name as well while she's there. So there's diversification for the kind of business. And what are you hearing? Some of the same themes. So with that, with us talking about pivot, some diversification and being able to do these kinds of things, Paul, Matt, other thoughts?
I'll chime in real quick just to kind of speak to what Ashley was talking about. When we look at our trades clients, the race to the bottom mentality is certainly very prevalent through the crisis modes that have happened, not just with the pandemic, but even prior with the softening of oil and gas here. So, again, it's okay to be, price focused, because many people are right now, but you have to be able to add the value focus as well, which again, you may be able to, as a company or a corporation, devalue your product once, maybe twice. But like if that's now part of your, your branding, it may be very difficult to recover from that because you're eroding your margin so much to the point where, sometimes small businesses just need to move some money around, right? Accounts payable, accounts receivable, but that can't be the mindset of the business overall, right? Like you need to be able to qualify where your value proposition is. And to me, we've had this, barrier in Alberta for so long, like pricing has never been what it should be. But, with that said, look at what is happening in lumber and in petrol and in travel, like all these, like, do we believe that, no, I'm not going to redo my deck this year because lumber's going to be cheaper next? Well, how many people said that about gas or petrol? Like I started driving when it was 27 cents a liter. Like those days are gone, right? So like, will lumber come back down? Possibly, but it's never going to be where it was, right? Because we're creating a habit for purchasing now anyway.
Mm-hmm. Paul?
Well, I like the pivot and I like the innovative. Definitely, paying attention to more of your numbers on a monthly basis and seeing where that drain is, and see where you can eliminate or justify that. And then add-ons. What can be added onto your business? Like apartment building owners, can you have that steam cleaner? Can you in-house a lot more of your services instead of farming it out? Can you have an offshoot with an AB, another corporation, an AB Limited, to do the lawn, to do the snow removal, to do some of the other jobs, instead of contracting everything out. Can you take the laundry services in-house now with technology instead of giving that part away? So it's really, I think thinking time, taking away with your expenses and going, what can I do that's already within my own environment? And am I maximizing, or is there opportunity that I've been giving away that I can change and actually, take advantage of that?
Mhm. I comment a question here really quick for everybody else looking in the future. Our studio audience is first come, first serve. We put it on Eventbrite, but we're going to put a limit out there as well, because I had somebody ask really quick. So if you want to pop in and be part of the 3 or 4 or 5 voices that are here on a week-to-week basis, don't hesitate. You can go to Eventbrite and sign up. If you're inside a syndicate, of course, you'll be able to find the event right there. Log in, get yourself going on as well. But I got bouncers that are minding the gate too. We only want a few people in here. Otherwise, if you want to come and even comment, enjoy, or watch and hear what other people are saying, you're going to be able to see us live on YouTube as well. So I've just internally, I shared the link for the playlist as well, but we're live right now. You can go over to YouTube as well, and you just want to look up Mitch Kamich Coaching, and you're going to see that we're right there. But if you're watching, you don't need to find us. You know that we're already there. Maybe you found the link inside of our syndicate network, inside of Facebook or LinkedIn right now, but definitely come and look for us, because we're here on Fridays holding court. So now, setting aside that little promo plug for a moment, and the fact that we've heard pivot, we've heard diversification, we've heard everything else as well. Businesses are going, but I did pivot. I tried to do something different, but I did diversify. I tried to do one more thing. I tried to add another line. It's not working, blah, 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 blah. So I started to compromise my price. I lowered my price a little bit to try and keep some clients or get some brand new clients right now. Talking to tradespeople this week, and Matt, I love you for bringing that one up for a moment. Talking to any number of trades this week, and they're going, I'm estimating for stuff right now. I'll take electrical as an example, and it is 120% higher. This one electrician I've got for supplies, he goes, how am I going to quote this? And I look at him and I'm going, well, you quote it with the new price because you don't compromise on your rate per hour. And I said, because what are your competitors going to do? They got the same supplies. They buy them from the same place. So if we, for a moment, and I want feedback on this, is it okay to compromise on price? But we know, because it's been said out loud here already, you compromise one time, that you have now, I'm going to say soured. You have soured whoever your current clients are, because they're never going to let you reasonably justify an increase. What happens if you do that? So you kept your head above water for the last year by playing with price first. Now your cost of goods goes up by 40%.
But I think, Mitch, I think when you look at it that perspective, if you have transparency with your clients, either if they're new clients or if they're existing clients that's coming forward, you as the business owner can say, look, while these are my regular rates, I really want to support and provide value for as many as I can. So this is my opening rate for the next 12 months, but transparently, then it's going to creep, or then it's going to go up, because the actual value for services is X. And I think if we never lose sight of that actual retail value, if you want to call it, then I think it's going to be a lot smoother to then get back up to your worth, because you're providing an intermittent short-term discount, if you will, or something.
So diversification and adaptation. Even when we were communicating with people, who else has got something to put in on this?
Well, with that diversification, but really it needs to be transparency as well. Like, it's a moving target in so many industries at this point in time, that to nail down a specific price point, like I have a friend that's currently building a house, like purchasing a house. Like, they have no idea what their actual purchase price is going to be until they get well into it, right? So, we've all probably seen the cartoons or the memes or the posts about, what $1,000 worth of lumber would have bought you 2 years ago versus now. And it's terrifying, right? So again, as long as you're transparent as whatever company you are to your client base, saying, listen, this is what I can currently get, if it's price cost or whatever it may be, it's just easy to say, listen, this is where I'm at currently with my suppliers. If that needle moves, I'll move my needle as well to be concurrent to that. But yeah, at this point, it's about transparency up front rather than having to deal with it at the back end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Paul, Lorette?
I want to go in a different direction. Because like I do career development, right? So skill, underline, underline, underline. What I do, most people cannot do. I teach the theory of career development, the practice of career development, and choosing your own adventure. This is a niche market. So I actually rose my prices because I was like, no, I do it really well. My clients, quality, even through a pandemic, they got 5 times more their rate of pay. They became directors and CEOs, like directors to CEOs. I rose my prices in a pandemic. I was like, no, watch me because my skill is amazing. Like Bruce Lee, one punch over and over again, right? He's a master. What is the skill that you have? What are you selling? How amazing is it? How niche is that product? How well can you sell your product? I sold my product well this year. I made okay money. So that's how I would say that question is like, don't compromise on price. If you have an amazing product, you sell that amazing product. You get what you're worth.
Fantastic. Paul, what you got?
It depends. It depends if you're going to be able to keep the doors open. Where's the bottom line on that? To say that I couldn't move my price, I don't think it's realistic. To drop your pants on all of your pricing, I don't think it's realistic either. I think you have to come with more of a strategy going, who are my high value clients that I have a relation with, and have that, that transparency like Matt was talking about. And maybe newer clients in the door, it's going to be at the higher pricing, but again, transparency. These are my costs. Everything's going up. It's not like we're blind. Everybody can see that, but I think we need to also be reminded of that. And then again, what is the industry not doing? What is the industry, is it in a groupthink kind of mentality? And what's outside that I could be, potentially taking advantage of? Is it outdoor lighting? Is it putting lights in the the $10,000 deck now that you're building? Like what relationships now can you foster with industries that you work together with? Or if it's an electrical company, is it moving a couple of plugs here and there, and being able to recommend other companies and getting a little bit of a fee on that side, an affiliate fee or something along that way? Let's write it down, get the big piece of paper up, and let's brainstorm the shit out of this thing, because the solution is there. But if we just go into panic mode, and follow what everyone else is doing, we're going to miss that. So sometimes it's just turn the technology off, get a pen and some paper, and go, for the next 4 hours, I'm not moving from here. Let's figure this shit out.
We got planning, we got pivot, we got some innovation, we got thinking about it a little bit, we got doing some stuff differently, and we got talking to people more. So, okay, we got planning, we got some innovation, we got some different communication, and we got skill development. What's missing? What else do we have to add to that? What else has to go to that list?
Personal development.
Well, that goes to skill as well as your own personal. I'm fishing around for one really important function. Willingness. How many businesses died due to stubbornness in the past year? How many businesses are on life support due to stubbornness in the past year? Again, every week that we have done this now, and we're in week 5 of our virtual box lunch, and you guys are never getting rid of us. Thank you, YouTube. But we're in week 5 of this, and we're going to be coming at you hot and heavy every week just to talk about the week that was in business. Sometimes there'll be a global perspective. Sometimes there's a local perspective. Sometimes there is absolutely, Kevin just chirped up, and Kevin's commenting up here as well a little bit over there. Training, absolutely. Training, skill development, personal development, all going to be fantastic things. You have to innovate. I'll go back to the 3 I talked about to start with. There has to be a willingness to push with the business. That speaks to resilience. There has to be a willingness to grow. In other words, to sell at a regular basis. There has to be a willingness to innovate. But what is the primary word in all of those sentences? Willingness. So talking about that, I want you to give me 2 good and 2 terrible examples of willingness that you've seen or experienced in the marketplace in the past year, because I want these to be lessons, life lessons for people. We talk about fables and we talk about Grimm's fairy tales and all these others. Do you know why so many fairy tales are dark and foreboding? They are life lessons. Don't do this or terrible shit will happen to you. If you do this, this is the consequences of your actions. So I want 2 examples of cautionary tales and 2 examples of really good stuff that we saw. Kevin, training a mindset. Love it, brother. Thank you very much for chirping in on the comments while we're live. What do we got? I want to hear 2 good, 2 terrible examples.
Well, I have a couple. So again, with some of my clients, and this has already been said in some fashion already, but I had a small business owner, family-run business, and they, at the very beginning of the pandemic, did not have what it took to weather the storm short term, right? So they did what we were talking about, which was race to the bottom. They needed to bring in some cash in order to move dollars around. Now, they did that when they needed and truly needed, and it was something that was very humbling. And they were wise enough to say, okay, I need to do this. It's not going to be my mainstay or my new focus. However, I need to do this for the next 60, 90 days, because we didn't know. Like at the very beginning, we had no idea, right? So as we, had a little bit of background and a little bit of history within the pandemic, they quickly shifted, and that was their pivot point, right? So I've heard that term, and again, many of you have heard my version of what pivot means. If you are still pivoting now as a business, you're a squirrel that is flattened on the highway. Pivot should have happened 15 months ago. You should have got above it. Well, the first time we were closed, looked around, and then made a move, right? And to me, again, the best way to know you're going in the wrong direction is to move in a direction. Like if you're so busy looking at your map and compass that you've never moved, you're never going to be saved, right? So all that said, he's now turned that around to where his business, being in a trade, is flourishing. And his price point has not only recovered, but obviously increased because of the supply and demand, right? So, whether or not that's a unicorn, I don't believe so. I think you got to do, like Paul had said, you got to do what you got to do in the moment. So, many of these small businesses have to play checkers right now, not chess. It's not chess. It's not a long ball game, right? It's what's my next move in order to make sure that my open sign goes on tomorrow morning and the lights are on, right? So that to me was again, a short-term strategy that turned into a win, but it could have been a loss. And the second one was succession planning seems to be something that is more apparent. I have a company that I'm close with that is, again, multi-generational, and some of the, younger generations' ideas have now come to be paramount, right? Like they are now, that's the way that we're going to move. This is the direction. And that, again, takes a lot of strategy internally, right? Especially if you're dealing with family. So those were some big wins, certainly, that I've seen over the last 14, 15 months.
Laurette, Paul?
Let me tell you a story. So in 2004, things were emerging, right? This was before pandemic time. What? There was a time before a pandemic? So in 2010, so 6 years later, the most wanted jobs didn't exist in 2004. That's only 6 years. So I want you guys to understand that before the pandemic, there was different jobs emerging, period. Life is about creating different opportunities. There's so many opportunities out there. The entrepreneurs that I know all are hiring. There's tons of jobs out there, period. So like there's tons of the story, or the narrative is, how are you choosing your own adventure? I know, Mitch, I use my wording because that's what I do. That's how I think. But like your willingness is to write a darn good story. Like, why do I do wins on a Friday? Because I force myself to win, because I want to win the game, period. But like, what are the dragons? What are like the bad part of the narrative? Worthiness. I definitely don't feel like I'm worthy to play the game. I'm a woman in business. What? But I'm like, hey, I'm a woman in business. So to turn a story, those are the best kind of stories, right? So I guess it's like, even with me, I got injured this year. That's actually more important than like a freaking pandemic. So I'm like dealing with a broken ankle because I was like, my intuition was like, don't go down that hill. And I'm like, I'm going to go down that hill. And then I had to call 911. So like, that's life in its fullest, really. But like, from the whole doctor experience, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a chapter in my book. Oh my God, I'm going to make $1 million from the surgery that I had on my ankle this year. So like turning a negative into a positive, wrestling with concepts. Like I've been wrestling with concepts this year. What does it mean to be abundant? What does it mean to have joy? What does it mean to feed your soul? So like use your brain. That was the last thing that you talked about, right? How are you using your mindset? I guess that's how I would answer the question.
Paul?
Good would be a restaurant, a local restaurant that I know. Never did takeout. It was very, very rare. If you did, it was more of a walk-in order. Transition to takeout, found some local guys, didn't have to go on to the other services, so it'd give his profits away. Very established in the community, so he started reaching out. He started advertising. He actually increased his advertising. And the nice thing is his hours actually shrunk. And his business is almost on par as to what it was before. And he's been toying with different changes in the menu because, you know, as prices went up with other things, he would readjust his menu on that side. So it's actually been a joy to to watch on that side, to, you know, not only a struggle, but that creative solution on that was awesome. The negative side would be an Air Canada executive taking a bonus after they got a bailout. So, you know, it's one of those things of another example of, you know, supporting and helping supposedly, and then the executive team's taking bonuses. So, you know, not in good order when you're running a company, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, it is 12:40 p.m. June 11th of 2021. We have 6 months left. 5 months, 19 days until the end of the year. Every week for 5 weeks, I've also said I have never, in all of my time, 8 years now, and almost 400 businesses that I've directly worked with, seen as many people start something brand new as they do now. But there's so much volatility as well that failure, it's been a universal constant for decades. Approximately 87% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. And right now, statistically, used to be once you got to about 90 days or so that people owed you money, it would start to drop off, and pretty soon it would drop off a cliff for the likelihood you getting paid. Statistically, right now, it's 32 days. We've already talked about the stuff they got to do. What's the likelihood for even as many new businesses are starting that if we come back to this a year from now, they're still upright? Because bear in mind, and we started the conversation originally to go, what's going to happen? Enjoy the summer, because chances are we're not going to get this right. We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to screw this up a little bit, and we're going to be kind of back to where we're at right now. How many are going to be left upright? We've talked about innovation. We've talked about pivot. And Matt, your point about pivot is important because pivot means that you turn, but then it implies movement. When you pivot in sports, otherwise, what are you doing? You're just standing on one foot spinning in a circle.
Yeah, like if you're a quarterback that just pivots, you're going to be sacked 100% of the time. You got to throw the ball, right? So for me, just to answer that question, Mitch, is that although people are being very innovative, they're also, like, many of the businesses that are being created right now are based out of panic or necessity, and they're just trying something, right? So is there a strategy behind it? I don't know, but you know what? Fight or flight works half of the time, I guess you would say. So I would say 60% of them won't survive in some fashion. Others will be there, but it'll be, again, we're all busy because it's no longer status quo. So for them, they may be operational. Who knows if they're profitable though? Like 60, 70%, I would say, would drop off at least.
Okay. Before I get the rest of the panel, Yulia, are we going to get Cat Butt to show up on this on Zoom? Are we going to get Cat Butt on Zoom live on YouTube? Love it. Love the idea.
Sorry, what's wrong with the cat, Pat?
Nothing wrong with the cat. It's fantastic.
Okay, well, awesome cat.
Hi, there we go. You are live on YouTube, Cat. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, how many are going to be left standing? We all got businesses here. Some of us have multiple. How many in this room are still going to be upright in 12 months? How many of everything that we're watching launch right now or having launched in the last 6 months are going to be upright in 12 months? How many of what survived this amount of time is going to be upright? We've heard some of the stuff that we got to do to make a difference, but I want you guys to either be mean or nice. How much of what we see going on right now, because disruption leads to innovation, innovation leads to birth and growth, and that is wonderful for business, but we also watch a lot of attrition when we see alpha or first waves in new business development. How much of what we got going on right now is a false positive, meaning it's that initial rush, a bunch of stuff is going to fly off at the edges, and then we're going to find whatever the mean or normal is from there. What do we think? You can give me a percentage, you can give me a number, you can say half, you can say all of them are going to make it. Just I want you to give me an idea of what you think and also why you think it.
I think 70%. I'm a little higher than Matt, maybe a little more pessimistic on that side of things. But you know, it's not only the journey in the business, but once the job market starts to open up. Let's say, for instance, that oil hits 80 and stays at 80. How many more jobs are going to be created? And especially where we are in Alberta, they're used to that higher paying money. I'm not saying it's going to go back up to the crazy levels, but it's somewhere in the middle. So would you rather start your own business and work like a freaking dog in order to make a little bit of profit? Or would you like to go back and to the rigs or get a job that has a paycheck? So I think not only for the failure rate, but I think just with the job market, depending on where the economy lands and how it filters out on that side. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit higher than Matt's, because I think people are going to find out, like, holy shit, this isn't as easy as I thought it was. I have to put more money out in order to get, and the amount of time that's involved for the learning curve in marketing alone, if you're doing that in-house. So I think things take a longer period of time than we assume. I'm a victim of that. I still do that. So that's why I would say the rates are a little bit higher. But yeah, we're definitely going to see some high flyers and some incredible wins out of this, and that will be through how the landscape has changed in technology.
Mm-hmm. Okay, who else got some? Who wants to be psychic and tell me how many we think are still going to be standing or going to go down? And Lorette, this speaks to some of what is your industry right off the bat.
Too much to say, but I'm going to say it in like less than 5 minutes. So number one, it's about learning. So like, how do you increase your odds? You learn, you grow. And I find it funny because there is like 3 business coaches on the call specifically for, if you are failing in your business, go talk to someone, period. Now, if you're failing in your career development, go talk to someone, period. So like, I'm going to say audacious. I'm going to be a little cocky and be like, if you don't know, and if you have questions, and by the way, I believe in synergy and I believe in learning, ask. Get help, period. You are not in this alone. So career development for me is, hey, you're having trouble developing your career, come to me. Hey, you hate your job. Hey, you're struggling, come to me. I know all 3 of you guys. So I know 3 different business coaches. I definitely refer out. I'm like, yo, you don't belong in my field. You're not doing career development. You're doing business coaching. Go talk to this person specifically because there are their values. Another thing with life, and I find it funny with round 2. So it's June. I did concept work on purpose that were like 6 concepts, like humor and playfulness, joy, feeding your soul, because those are things that I'm interested in. And then when June hit, I had to relearn them again, because learning is relearning to keep it simple, stupid, like this KISS method. Why are we making things so complicated? It's business, exchange of goods and services, period. And
Lorette, how many are going to stay alive?
How many want help is my answer. How many people are willing to be like, I'm confused? So I'm going to word it like this. If you get help, if you get synergy, 100%, because that's how cocky I am. If you are not willing to synergize, if you're not willing to join an organization like syndicate.com, 0%. You have 0 chance. Sorry. That's the answer.
Yulia, you get a different perspective on people. You're in the nice part of business, okay? You got 3 business coaches. Earlier we had Ashley and say HR. You got career development. Yulia is in the pretty part of business. She's in the part where she helps people experience things, bring joy, celebrate stuff and things like that in her life. I got to ask you for some perspective because you see people coming to you from a different spot. Whether they're celebrating, whether they're embracing something, whether they're being salubrious. In other words, they're giving gifts to people and things like that. If you had to peg it, what you're thinking right now, what you're seeing, what you're hearing from your friends and family, you're watching and experiencing business, mean or nice, how many do you think are still going to be with us here in a year?
Was asked like business?
Yeah.
You mean businesses? So what I would say, I see people getting lazier, right? With all the payouts they get in. So there's no incentive for them like to work anymore. And I think those people will drop off pretty quick. So if you like real entrepreneur, you will stay on float and you will find your way to wherever you're heading, right? So other people like who pretend to be entrepreneurs, they just in the business to make money. I think half of them will stay, right? So other half will find something else how easier to make money. So that's what I think. So, and yeah, I guess I don't know percentage wise, but well, obviously the strongest will survive. So, but we're not like survival TV show, but yeah. So and some I think those people who run it in business, some might be starting the business, and there are many of them already starting. So it will, it will drop, but it will gain in a way too. So I think that's just what I'm thinking at this moment. So how it actually turn out, we'll wait and see.
I love it. Hi, Kat. It's nice to see you. Matt, what do you think? Number, big, middle, little. Where are you at?
Well, I'll keep it local. So again, most of us are from Alberta. I'm born and bred here, right? So I would say we're going to right size a little bit, right? We were so prosperous for so long here that the small business owner could be successful without really knowing how to run business. So I will say, again, like industries will fluctuate. Let's say 70% of the people that started a new business are not going to be here within the year. Easy.
So that'll work a lot quicker too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's just things are happening now at a pace, and again, we chatted about this. Customer experience has changed so drastically everywhere that instant gratification is still paramount for us. So again, you're going to either shop on Amazon or you're going to wait in line, your preference, right? And, the whole shop local, I appreciate, but I have to tell you, some of these big box stores employ a great number of local citizens, right? So there's 2 trains of thought there. You can go to Walmart or you don't. That's okay. Not up to me. But like Walmart employs thousands of Edmontonians, right? So it's really going to be about everyone spending money, whether or not it's your money or government money, who knows, right? But I would say 70% of those small businesses won't be here and maybe shouldn't have been here in the first place.
I heard something really important. Yulia brought it up. Matt, you just reinforced it. Lorette, you touched on it from the edges. Paul, it's always front and center. If you listen to Paul long enough, you'll always hear the part where he's talking about the shit we're doing wrong, but how it relates to money. So I'm going to bring it up. How many people treated okay, I don't even know what the percentage is. Can't guess. Maybe you guys can give me some perspective on that. But how many people in the last year with handouts, Yulia, love the term. Thank you very much. With handouts, with the dole outs, with government money. And so in Canada, there's CEBA, there's CRB, there was the CRB, there's the wage subsidy, there's rent subsidies, there's subsidies for everything. There's new subsidies cropping up all the time. There's all sorts of money all over the place. They've also made it a lot easier to borrow for the very first time too. If you tried to go get a business loan, we've even got an institution for that that's backed up by the government in Canada. As an example, they made it easier in COVID to get the money than they did the year before. So with all of this, who treated the money like found money? Or who treated the money like it was support? because that's going to be a big tell as well. Who used it and leveraged it, or who treated it as just part of their paycheck? Is that going to be part of the predicator for success and failure as well? Because if it's found money, how many people treated it like found money, which means it got you further ahead? Or how many it was just holding the line, and then when it ran out, you had no plan, no alternative. So I want to get final thoughts. We're sitting here right now and we're looking at a number of different things. We watched last year because of just where it hit for us in our local area. This started to become real in March. By the end of April and the middle of May, it was full bore. It was here and that was it. It's what we lived with. We watched some things happen. People are going, it's some people were the sky, it's falling. Some people were like, it's the golden age, it's never going to go away. Some things got accelerated, wherever it is. It's, you know what? It wasn't just a catch-all. It wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't a unicorn instance in business. The pandemic coming accelerated a number of things in business. But we're sitting here in the middle of June right now, and we have construction season right now, which employs an awful lot of people. Okay. We have what is going to be the start of, and it's been traditionally like this for over 100 years. Retail season for Christmas starts in August. We get Halloween, which is a break, and we pack ourselves full of candy. We get fall semesters for intake of school. People still go on vacation, even when they're unemployed. So the next 6 months hits a couple of other road markers. Do you think they stay the same? We watched many of the same instances last year. We watched obviously a massive increase in online shopping for Christmas as an example, but segments that we're talking about that were considered traditional right now shifted a bunch in the past year. There's more construction companies now, general contractors and standalone electricians and plumbers doing what they used to do as employed people before. Are they still going to be here or not? Who knows? But construction is booming right now. Retail shifted primarily to online, but our spending for the season was still down. Modestly, but it was still down compared to the previous year. But the amount of money we spent online increased by an astronomical pileup. So with construction season being what it is, with education services, which is always considered a hallmark, and that's going to start in the fall again as well, with what is considered travel and vacation season, them taking the reins off for us, and then with holiday shopping season, if we're moving online, and the other part that tends to make life tick for many people in North America around here, sporting seasons, different things, hockey's into playoffs. In Canada, we've got the CFL that's supposed to launch in August. NFL is going to go right back to normal in September. They're not even batting an eye talking about it. NBA playoffs are in full swing. So these things that we saw there, how much of that changed, how much of that landscape, and by the end of this year, by the end of 2021, how much of that is going to have changed irrevocably? And what does that mean for the rest of us? Final thoughts. Got about 30 seconds for everybody to talk. Lots of things have happened, but we can't pretend that 15 months ago to now, what we would normally experience at the start of construction season, March and April, holiday season, vacation time, etc. Education services start back up in September, and then holiday shopping, which starts at the end of August and September, were not the same last year. And we've seen enough shift right now. So are we going to get one more year? Is it going to quote unquote go back to normal? Or is it changed and we're just watching the death throes of certain industries and the emergence of something brand new? And what does it mean for the rest of us? Who wants to dive in on something? This one's heavy.
Spending's up. Spending will be up. I think there's too much pent up energy of being locked up. So I think everyone's going to go a little bit nuts, maybe a little bit too nuts on that side. Maybe by Christmas time, we'll be like, oh shit, in that situation. But I think, we're going to definitely see spending up overall. And then those oh shit moments will come again on that. Things are up in the construction and people are busting out on their own. But as we know, there's going to be a cooling off period coming. The other thing is once all of those subsidies and money and everything stops from the government, how does that affect households? How does that affect industry? And is that going to spike bankruptcies? Is that going to spike people who are in foreclosure on that side? And then how does that look? So I think initially, yes, we're going to see that, but I think carrying into the next year, we're going to see, it's time to pay. The bill is going to be coming in on that side.
Lorette?
Brand new. Every day is a new day. Walt Whitman, happiness isn't in another time in another place, but this time in this place. So how do you create the amazing today? Choose your own adventure. Sorry.
Love it. Yulia, are we seeing the fall of Rome, or are we seeing things going to continue the way they always do?
Well, in my industry, obviously, people already like booking, for next year. So people are already fed up. So they're not waiting anymore. And it's more already at least clear with, even with restrictions, people will still be able to travel with doing the test, you're already going to be vaccinated. So it's already lifting that layer of uncertainty. So people are so ready to go. So even as yesterday already, everyone would be ready to go. So absolutely, it will be a huge boom. At the same time, in tourist industry, what I heard, the prices will go up because lost revenue for the last year. So that also can create some supply demand, depends, right? We're not talking just in Canada, but overseas, like Mexico and the closest, states. So that definitely, and people will be spending those money that either they have or not, they will be still spending till they hit that bottom line. And then it might go down the hill. So this year, it still won't be the crucial year, but maybe the following year would be the one that will hit many people. And as I think Paul said, it will be like some of them end up in bankruptcies, and who knows, right? So the hardest is yet to come.
Perfect, Yulia, thank you. Matt, bring it home.
I would say we're going gangbusters for the next 100 days, and we'll reap benefit and the repercussions of it after the fact. Like, are we going to be right back here? Again, my philosophy is simply this: like, it's not post, it's not pre, it's not, are we waiting? Today's today, make money today. And what's the strategy to do that tomorrow, right? And if there's restrictions, there's restrictions, but like, welcome to the new world, right? Like, no different than we take our shoes off at the airport. Like, that happened once, and that's mainstay. You're going to get a Q-tip in your nose probably 1,000 times over the next couple of years, and it's going to be the new normal. I hate that term. Today's today. Go make money. Work. Right?
And on that one, all right. So for us today, the Virtual Business Box Lunch, Mitch Kamich coaching, Yulia, Lorette, Ashley, who had to ditch it real quick, Paul, Matt, and myself. Thank you for joining our live studio audience. We had some commentary chirping up as well. Matt and I have a chance to comment back to that there as well. Kevin, Ali, thank you so much for joining us over there. Everybody that came to us, of course, look for us next week, right in the spot. Same great time, same great channel. We're going to be talking about the week that was in business. It's been fantastic to see all of you. We will see you next week when we come with another set of personal opinions, inflammatory comments, a bunch of profanity, and of course, a take on the week that was in business. It's been a great one. Audience, thank you so much for participating, playing all out, and of course, sharing what you guys know, what you do, what you love, and just talking about business as well, because this is the fun part about it. And I certainly appreciate you coming by. Have yourself a fantastic day. And good work, everyone.